Nigel Farage, the self-proclaimed defender of free speech, has had an epiphany. For years he's told us there should be no limits. Platform anyone, say anything. It's all just about energetic debate. Reform UK Limited even gave convicted racist Lucy Connolly a starring role, while Leah Cunningham tied herself in knots on live TV, insisting free speech should have no limits whatsoever. Holocaust denial, conspiracy theories, calls to burn down hotels, all fine, because apparently that's democracy.
We have to have the right to say what we want.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Lucy Connolly, the person that you invited to speak from your conference floor. Is that a sign of a serious party, a party of law and order? Are there any limits to free speech? Are there any limits to free speech? Would you put a Holocaust denier, for example, on your platform? Oh, so there are limits to free speech.
You know, it's such typical blackmail. Holocaust, Nazi, all these big terms. I don't believe there should be any...
It's just teasing out the logic of your own position.
So if there is a limit to free speech, who decides? Who gets to decide what me as an adult gets to see or hear? Who decides?
But then something happened. Charlie Kirk was murdered in America. Suddenly, Nigel, never one to miss an opportunity to talk about himself, decided maybe there are limits to free speech after all. He stood up at a by-election and solemnly declared even free speech has its limits.
Great tragedy this week with a very good friend of mine killed in America. And I just have to say that some of the responses that we've heard to that murder have been, I think, frankly, quite despicable. And I just wanted to put that on the record. And we are a party that believes in active, energetic debate. We're a party that believes in free speech, but even free speech has its limits. And nobody that ever represents reform or wears our badge will ever engage in such conversations, even against people we deeply disagree with, because that's what the democratic process is supposed to be all about.
And he repeated this in Parliament, talking about incitement, vilification and horrendous imagery, as though its own party hadn't been gleefully doing exactly that from the conference stage.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My mind is filled with the horrendous images yesterday of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, an American, a conservative, a Christian, a family man, gunned down. He'd attracted the following of many millions of young Americans and indeed had a growing online presence in our country, especially after he spoke at the Oxford Union last month. I absolutely believe in free speech, but we all understand there are limits to free speech. Incitement, constant personal vilification, the use of horrendous historical images. And this is not a left-right issue. It's not a left-right debate. I think it's incumbent upon all of us, whichever side of the divide we're on, however passionately we feel, to behave with personal responsibility. And I mourn the loss of my friend.
So what's changed? Did Nigel suddenly develop principles? Or is it that a TikTok user started posting threats against him? And for the first time in his life, he's realised that free speech cuts both ways.
What I will say is, if we are serious about understanding what the limits of free speech are, right, and I will say this actually, those people who posted on TikTok, open TikToks calling for me to be killed yesterday, let's see if the police go and arrest them. Shall we?
When Lucy Connolly called for asylum hotels to burn, he applauded her as a martyr. But when someone makes a meme about him, well then that's a matter for the police. But the media are also circling about his house sale, asking questions about his finances and his future. Maybe this newfound caution isn't principle at all. Maybe it's damage control.
And at no point then did you give her funds?
Listen, I have given every answer to this I want to give. I've even been this week to a King's Counsel tax expert and paid a lot of money to make sure that everything we've done is legal and right, and crucially, that the right amount of council tax has been paid.
Why did you do that, out of interest? If you had no part in buying that house, why did you go to a tax advisor?
Because I was really concerned that what was being said by some elements of the press were frankly, beginning to stray into libel territory. So I have now done everything I can at every level to prove that everything that's been done is legal, correct, and right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's been a very expensive week.
A man who's built his entire career on weaponising outrage now wants us to believe he's found the line. Free speech without limits, until Nigel feels the consequences. Then suddenly it's all about responsibility, restraint and protecting himself. Hypocrisy? Fear? Or is that just the latest reinvention from a man who only ever believes in one thing? Whatever keeps Nigel Farage safe, relevant, and in the headlines.